sponsors. Welcome to the Lights in the Night Show with Russell Johnson, who wants to talk about and reveal what the United States government doesn't want you to know about UFOs and aliens right here in this country and around the globe. Russell has been following this material for over 50 years and will have guests who will tell their stories from around the world. Take down the number to call in, 888-565-1470, because Russell wants to hear your story. Our show also invites you to send your pictures and videos to UFO@amp2.tv so we can show them on our program at lightsinthenight.tv. Now, let's get to the Lights in the Night subject matter and hear what the government has tried to keep quiet for over 50 years. Again, get ready to call 888-565-1470 and watch on lightsinthenight.tv. Now, here's Russell with today's show.
Mike is open.
Ladies and gentlemen, the call-in line is open at 1-888-565-1470. 1-888-565-1470. Visit our website at lightsinthenight.tv. Join our chat room right now. And now, Dr. Russell Johnson.
Mike's open.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you for listening. WWNN 1470 on the AM 95.3 FM. And it's streaming too on YouTube and all over the place. It's going to be interesting. We will be talking about some serious subject matters with a lot of people who have been around the industry for a lot of years and have done tremendous amounts of research. And so we have George Green from nohoax.com. That's nohoax.com. And he's been an investment banker, made millions and millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. And he's been researching this industry for the last 40 years, traveling all over the world. He's really an extremely knowledgeable individual, and he has some great information for us. Then we have Jared Rand, and my co-host here, she's been talking to Jared. Why don't you introduce Jared?
Yeah, so I had the great opportunity the other day to speak with Jared on the phone, and he is a leader in his field when it comes to what does the government know, what don't they want us to know, and how did we get all this great technology. So after speaking with Jared, I said, save it all for the show. And he told me a story, but I'd first like to recognize today is December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day. And I always like to take a moment and reflect on that time and how it changed our country. Mm-hmm. Interestingly enough, and I never believe in coincidences, so as things get put together and our first show starts today, Jared, who's on the line, has an amazing story that connects him to Pearl Harbor. So without further ado, I'd definitely like to have Jared be able to come and talk with us. Jared, how are you?
Good. How are you, Jennifer?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. So I started telling everyone that you had a great story that connects you to Pearl Harbor Day, December 7th, 1941. Can you tell everyone your story?
Yeah, it's interesting. My father was an NCO in the service, lifer, and at that time he was in the Navy before he switched to the Air Force when the Army Air Force split up. And he was stationed on Arizona, but he got leave because my oldest brother was born December 7th, 1941.
Wow.
So the Arizona was sunk. My dad got shore leave, and my brother was born on the day they bombed Pearl Harbor.
That's an incredible story. And then when we start talking about that, why don't we have you give our audience a little insight to what you do on a daily basis?
I have a meditation that I do, which is very simple, every day at 3 p.m. Eastern, and we have been doing those since February 12th of this year. And they are for humanity, and they are for the planet, and they are for our forward movement into a whole different paradigm of existence. So we have done every day since February 12th without fail, without missing. And we have grown from a few to 1.8 million meditators who come in from all over the country.
At 3 o'clock? All at the same time?
Yeah, they're trunked in off of different phone lines. Yeah. They'll have 10,000 people listening to one line.
Holy moly, wow, that's really impressive. And when we were speaking on the phone, you gave me some really interesting pieces of information, specifically about technology and how what we know now has come from another world, another planet. Can you delve into some of that for me?
Yeah, we certain parties on the planet have been given access to certain technologies that are off-world technologies. A lot of these technologies have been around but kept from humanity since the 1940s, late 30s, and they've been out there in the solar system and in the galaxy for a very long time. And anyway, the technologies, for instance, we have one, and we have the inventor in an undisclosed location on the planet. It's a plasma energy, as we call it, a celestial chamber. And what it basically does is it reatomizes the human body. So if you've got a missing limb or you've got anomalies throughout your body, that implants, defibrillators, you name it, or inactive organs or organs that have been removed, the entire body is reatomized through a plasma-generating field controlled or contained by a tachyon particle field, to put it simply. And so you're also reversed age to about anywhere from 20 to 35 years old. So you can take an 85-year-old human, put them in the chamber, and the chamber within 3 minutes would have that human revitalized and reatomized.
Wait, how can I get one of these now? I'm looking around the studio and people are thinking, where do I go? Are they at Walmart? Like, how do I get one?
Yeah, that'd be great if they were that accessible. I would love to see every human being on the planet have one. We're in the prototype phase. We have the AI construction done. The database is filled. And controlled AI, which I may say that's it's not conscious, not aware AI. So, and we're doing the constructs for the prototype. Once that's completed, we will do tests, and then from that point, we'll go into the first unit production run of the first finished product, and then we'll start multiplying them. We also have the replicators, which basically will do everything you could possibly imagine. If you want a set of clothes, it's snowing out, I need a set of clothes, you'll have them within seconds.
Wow.
No pollution. So what it does is it takes the plasma energy, which everything is made of, and it reconfigures the molecular structure of it into whatever it is that is in the database that you've requested. You can scan the entire body. It will fit you better than tailored clothes.
Wow! Already, I'm like, wow.
I guess a lot of people listening are like, wow.
These are technologies. Had humanity had these technologies, which they should have had 50 years ago, we would be off this planet going into a lot of different directions. We
actually have someone in our audience who would love to ask you a question. Jared, meet Deanna. Deanna, meet Jared.
Hi, Jared. I was just wondering, so have you used anything of this? Like the machine you're talking about that fixes, like helps you with whatever you...
The celestial chamber, I have seen it in actual operation.
What?
Okay, so, but for your own health, you haven't tried it?
No, we haven't, no.
Why is that? Is there a reason that you can't use it, or certain people only can use it?
No, we were waiting on certain information to be downloaded. We didn't have the complete schematics. We do now, and so we're building it, all right? The off-world technology comes from another civilization. There's a couple of versions of it out there, off-world. This is the one that seems to be the most fluid and the most effective and the quickest. It takes about 3 minutes.
Wow.
Melatonin production in the brain is accelerated. The human falls asleep. There's no poking, prodding, or anything. They just fall asleep, and the halo passes over the body, and it regenerates, reatomizes the entire structure structure of the human body.
So you're saying
It
you.
will also customize. It will fix genetic faults.
So you're saying you can live forever.
Well, if you want to live for a very long time, you're going to be able to.
Yeah. It's not that I want to.
Humanity being immortal is the goal.
So when you saw the demonstration, how old was the person who was a part of the demonstration?
106.
So can it be used on the same person more than one time?
Yeah, it's probably, the idea is for you to take care of the body, obviously, and nutrition-wise and everything. But if you start getting gray hair or something, and you want to do a repast, and it will attend to that. It gives you options through the screen. You can literally voice command it. I want blonde hair, or you might have black hair. You might want to have blonde hair. I've got blue eyes. I want green eyes. So it'll literally, as a voice command, you lay down, and it does what you have asked it to do. You can do a full reanimation or parts. Let's say you have stage 4 cancer somewhere in the body. It will reatomize. The cancer will be gone.
And how many people got to see this demonstration? Because when you first, introduced this, you said it's in an undisclosed location. So how many people were there?
The actual demonstration wasn't here. Wasn't on the planet.
Where was it?
It was off-world.
So you were at the demonstration. It wasn't on this planet. So you went to the other off-world to see it?
Actually, it was a ship, starship,
Okay.
in between Mars and Earth.
Sometimes most people listen to you, and it's a stretch of imagination for the average person who hasn't been, caught up in terms of understanding all the nuances of what you're talking about. I think if you were to talk about something that maybe a little bit close to Earth would be, if you talk about the limbic arc, which is the quantum energy piece that a lot of people are studying. I was listening to Edgar Mitchell today. He just passed, the astronaut, and he was talking about how he had gotten involved in the quantum energy, and it helped heal his body and serve in some serious ways. So you may want to talk about that may be available for people to use quickly and get the results immediately. Go right ahead.
Good idea, Russ. There are the current available technologies. Why don't we talk about that real quickly? There is a technology called limbic arc. A Dr. Cook, for about 30 years of research, has developed. This technology is currently an app that you can download on your smartphone. It deals with quantum energy, which basically is the makeup of the universe. It's the quantum world means very small. Quantum means very tiny, very small. And what it does, it moves the quantum energy with your body and affects change such as pain, anxiety, stress, energy, calmness, focus for eyes, vision, and it addresses many of the problems that the human body experiences. You set it and you basically forget it. It'll run for 8 days. You can actually add different ingredients, different boosts to it to apply to whatever it is you're experiencing with your body.
And my question is, so with that said, where did this technology come from?
Dr. Cook is the one that actually researched it and has made it available to humanity. So you can go to the site, you can peruse it, or you can research it, you can watch the videos. It's been released over the last 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's the site that we should drive people to so they can check this out?
You can go to we are onelightforall.net.
Okay, great, great.
Yeah.
And so,
That's available now. Yeah, that's available now, and people can access it. It's very inexpensive.
and
It's effective.
I know Russell wanted to bring it back to something here on Earth, but of course I want to go back to the spaceship.
Go ahead. Hey, listen.
That's where I'd rather go back.
Ask about the abductions. And,
Yeah.
Are people still being abducted? I mean, that's been going on the last 30 or 40, 50 years. Is that still happening?
It's been going on forever.
Oh, okay. Is it still going on?
Yes.
Okay. If it is, then why and how can people identify the fact that they have been, if they have been? Because obviously the mind is a crystal, and most of the mind energies can be blocked. So that's where people can forget that they have been abducted. So how can people identify the fact that they have or have not been abducted?
Yeah, that's a very, very intricate question. Because most of humanity is not awake. Okay, they don't know their true divine powers, so they are trying to come out of the fog, so to speak. So what they do is when they are taken for purposes such as slave labor out in the galaxy, they like humans because humans are really good with their hands, so there's a lot of slave activity throughout the solar system, different asteroids, different planets where they are put into mines to work. There's also, planets where humanity has been populated on, just like this one, where they got buildings and cars and clothes and everything, just like we do. So there's a lot that's been kept from the human race, from the human civilization of the planet. A whole lot that's kept from.
And that's actually what we spoke about the other night when you were telling me about the planet that, for all intents and purposes, looks very Earth-like. However, what are the rules of those planets? We talked about that.
You have basically two kinds of planets that harbor, humanoid life, and it's either it's benevolent or it's warring and conflict. Mm-hmm. There are other planets that have nuclear wars. There's other planets in strife and turmoil. There's planets that are being liberated, and the civilizations are being set free from the tyranny of those who have invaded the planet and taken it over, unbeknownst usually to the civilization.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, you can go, there's no limit. People think that there's one universe. In a lot of cases, there's dozens of universes. The universes never end. They never end. Dimensions never end. They're unlimited. They continue upward. And then they can continue minus from dimension 1 below, or dimension 1 through dimension 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and onward. The higher the dimension, the less conflict, the less darkness, the less anger, the less aggression, the more benevolence, the more deep eternal love, the more caring, the more compassion, the higher you go in the dimensional ladder.
That's really interesting. I was reading a story the other day that maybe a month or two ago, pilots in Ireland had reported seeing some really strange lights. And it was not just one pilot, it was a lot of pilots. And they had no explanation for it. And Irish Air Traffic Control at that point said that we'll investigate it. Did you hear that story?
Yeah. There's different light spectrums, as you well know. There's infrared, UV, there's different that we, with our senses, cannot pick up unless you have a special camera, special lens that can pick up that light filter. So when you realize that there's massive shifts in our atmosphere, massive shifts. Some of them disguise themselves as clouds. Some of them are cloaked. Some of them are in a dimensional shift. They shift out and shift in and out. Their technology bends light, so it manipulates gravity. It's kind of a time warp type of power system. And so when they're all in our atmosphere. There's several shifts in our atmosphere. And some of these shifts, people don't realize, some of these ships are miles and miles long and wide.
Oh,
Some
wow.
of these ships are as large as a planet, housing civilization inside of them, and they're ships. So it's way beyond what humanity realizes that is occurring and has been for quite some time. We have over 1,000 different species of intelligent life that are doing commerce and trade through this part of the solar system and galaxy, the rim of the Milky Way, here where we are. So it's just a constant process of beginning and ending, beginning and ending.
Now, I know Deanna and I started talking about this afternoon, and you have a story.
Oh yeah, well, I think my story is little. I grew up in Moscow, Russia, and one day I was coming home with my mom late, and it was 1990, and we saw in the sky really low, like a really strong light, and there was no sound, there was no helicopters, no planes standing still in one place. There's no buildings. I know I live there, so. And that was my story. And obviously, it was not natural, not normal.
Yeah.
And I believe that was something alien, whatever it was. But I have a question. I've heard there is in our Earth there is place that there is some kind of aliens, or there's people, whatever you call them. There is somebody that lives. There is their own sun. I don't know how you call it. Can you tell me something more about it? Like in our Arctic or Antarctic, there is an opening.
Oh, yeah.
You can fly in, and
Okay. There are a couple of civilizations, one in inner Earth and one in hollow Earth. You have the inner Earth civilization is fourth dimension, and the hollow Earth civilization is sixth dimension. And they're both benevolent civilizations with tremendously advanced technology. And they will be coming up to interact with the surface population.
Well, I definitely. Oh, I was just going to say, I definitely know that, to Deanna's point, that something's going on in the Antarctic, because you see all these world leaders, whether they be heads of states or religious leaders, are all flocking to that area. And that would be, I would love to have you come back on another time so we can really talk about those things.
Yeah, there's they've been going to Antarctica for a long time.
Okay, we have about 2 minutes left, Jared. The people who want to go to your website and not only look at that information on Limbic Arc, but also get additional information, what is that website? We have about 1 minute.
We are One Light, LIGHT.net.
Okay.
And so if they want to be
One Light for All. We are OneLightForAll.net.
Okay.
OneLightForAll.net. So if people want to be part of that meditation, they could get information there as well?
Yeah, all the meditations are there if they want to listen to any of them, as well as my weekly Time for Change call, which is every Wednesday night at 9 p.m.
Awesome.
Okay. Countdown time. 1 minute. Is George? Are you still there? George Green. Okay. We can bring him back next week. Go ahead. He's there, George. George, listen. We're running out of time. I'm so sorry. I wanted you to listen, to at least get an idea of what the format will be for next week. So we'll bring you back next week. But in 30 seconds, if you can take 30 seconds, and just tell people how to find you, nohoax.com, and what you will be presenting for us next week. Is that possible?
2 minutes.
30 seconds. Basically, I can talk about 60 years ago, I'm at Edwards Air Force Base in California, 10 feet away from an alien craft. That alive. And also, a lot of the engineering that we have today came right off of alien craft at that point. So we've spread everything out. We went from the old days of tube radios, if you remember that, to transistors and all of these things. It's all taken off of alien craft.
So if that doesn't like pique people's interest for next week, then I don't know what would, because
Absolutely.
that is, I can't wait now.
So most of the technology that has been developed in the last 34 years, you're saying that has been back engineered from the crash, especially the Roswell crash of 1947 and other crashes. Is that right?
Oh, plenty of crashes.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had all kinds. There was 18 crashes in New Mexico. And you're talking about, remember the lights over
1 minute.
Phoenix?
1 minute. And
Awesome.
30 seconds, madam. Do you have any questions? So be back next week?
She'll be back next
She'll
week.
be back next week. Okay. Hey,
Awesome.
George, I thank you very much for being on. Close
Thank
it out
you
for
so
us.
much, Jared. We really appreciate it. I'm super excited about next week where we can talk to George. So join us again next week. Lights in the Night, 6 o'clock, 1470 AM, 95.3 FM. And call us. Let's hear your stories. 888-565-1470.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you listening.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening and watching The Lights in the Night Show with Russell Johnson. Today's show can be seen on lightsinthenight.tv. And remember to send your pictures and videos to UFO at amp2.tv. And perhaps they will be used on the show. Join us next week as we bring you more information on UFO sightings and aliens that your government doesn't want you to know about. Keep the information flowing, and we will see you next week on The Lights in the Night Show with Russell Johnson.
You've been listening to Lights in the Night. Visit our website,
The
lightsinthenight.tv.
opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff,